The gameplay reveal for Stellar Blade didn't really do anything for me. I wasn't drawn to the character of Eve or the post-apocalyptic Earth, but sometimes you need to put your hands on the controller to really get a feel for the game and its combat and its rhythm. And I played the Stellar Blade demo and the boss challenge, and well, you've got my attention now. Let me know any questions you have about the game and I'll get back to you in the comments.
Something is falling from the sky. A strange sensation.
Post-apocalyptic Earth is a setting we've seen quite a lot in all media, really, and while in my short time with Stellar Blade, there doesn't seem to be anything particularly unique about Shift Up's version of Earth here, except for the Naytiba, more on that shortly. What I did find engaging about the world was Eve's lack of knowledge about typical Earth things. Like during the demo, for example, you'll come across a library and Adam will comment about how each book is only 1 megabyte of data, and Eve replies about how these boxes are such a waste of space. Eve is part of the 7th Airborne Squad from a colony in outer space, so this is Eve's first footsteps on Earth, and we're sort of experiencing this version of post-apocalyptic Earth with Eve through her eyes for the first time. And that's what's actually intriguing about this premise to me, is that this is her first time experiencing what's actually happening on Earth. Visually, this Earth looks pretty incredible too. There's some really good vistas even just in this short demo, and the demo does contain 3 graphical modes, from fidelity to balanced to performance. I played on balanced and was quite impressed by the visual detail in the objects and the lighting in some scenes. I also really like that intro sequence, which does seem to have these like massive vistas and things like happening around you. I like that impact of those sort of moments, and I would have liked to see more of the world and maybe some more variety in the world, as the full game is supposed to be like a semi-open world with side quests and items to find, secrets to discover and all that stuff. And the demo itself is quite linear and only really takes place in one specific part of the sort of destroyed cityscape, and I would have liked to see a bit more diversity there, and the gameplay overview trailer does seem to show more, which, you know, I'm interested to see a bit more of that depth there, but didn't get to experience too much myself. But what I did experience was some absolutely incredible music. Considering the majority of the music was composed by the same person who did Nier Automata, there is no surprises there. Like, it's definitely one of the main hooks to the game. It adds to that overall atmosphere of the world and the rhythm of combat, which is the exact same thing that I did in Nier Automata, and those same juices really are felt here, in my opinion. And I mean, you can see the Nier inspiration from other aspects of the game as well. So, I mean, I'm not mad at it at all. The general track that played just like during exploration during the demo, like I was bopping to the whole time, like really a huge standout for this demo experience. And some of the music from that demo you're actually listening to as the backing music for this video as well.
Adam, get back!
Okay, so combat. Now this is where Shift Up actually got me really interested. So you've got your basic light and heavy attacks that you can perform certain combos with, and in the boss challenge you actually get to play around with essentially like a maxed out Eve with a ranged weapon, burst skills and the likes. Now pretty much every third person action game these days has like blocking and dodging and parrying or perfect parrying here. Now what these like sort of setups really need to excel at is that feel of the mechanic of that perfect parry, right? Being able to get that right. And it's really important, and Shift Up has definitely found it. It's really satisfying. Like there's that brief like time slow and screen effect when you trigger that perfect parry. It's also not too punishing if you do miss it. So I essentially tried to parry every single attack that came at me, and you know, I enjoyed that sort of combat loop. There's also perfect dodging that you can use to avoid attacks and follow up with, you know, your own like different combos of the light and heavy attacks, and they all have different animations and sound effects, and I enjoyed the rhythm of that. And it goes for the enemies as well, right? Like there's a lot of enemy variety even in this short demo that all have unique attack animations and unique aspects to them, like a shielded enemy and different types of like attacks that they use. The Naytiba, as they're called, essentially overrun Earth, and having like an alien type species like this gives you a lot of flexibility to create all sorts of messed up aliens for Eve to fight, and Shift Up have really expressed that through all of this enemy design, and they've really succeeded in having some unique concepts here seemingly just in this demo, and I'm excited to, to fight some more than just the trash enemies and the couple of bosses that we got during the demo. So there is challenge in combat as well, right? Like I died a couple of times, especially during the boss challenge. What is a little confusing during these encounters is that enemies will sometimes glow a certain color. Like I saw a purple, a red, a yellow, and a blue, like even in my brief amount of time with the game. Now I suspect that from actually playing the full game and really spending your time to get deep into the combat system, you'll totally understand what these different colors mean and how they interact, etc. But like just in the demo itself, especially in that boss challenge, I did find it a little challenging to understand what those colors actually represent. But I assume that's just, you know, a product of dumping right into like a deep boss challenge like this, right? Like once you've understand the combat system, it'll all make sense. And the combat, like even from the brief time, has a very satisfying rhythm to it. And testing out an endgame variation of Eve, you can see the depth and the complexity as you get further in the game, from getting access to not only the ranged weapon, but having these burst skills and the beta skills that you can use to sort of as like ways to really express yourself in that playstyle that you choose. I found really enjoyable to test, and I'm definitely keen to see more of this and spend more time in the game learning each of the combos and skills and tinkering with it and see what really works for me. Speaking of those skills, during the demo you'll have access to a fair few skills and gain some skill points by defeating enemies that you can spend on upgrades, and those upgrades are actually tangible, like new combos and activatable skills like those beta skills. You can access a training room as well, so you can play around with these skills freely without having to worry about the threat of dying. And you've got 3 skill trees here, plus seemingly 2 more that aren't available in the demo. And there's plenty of tangible upgrades here, which is the best thing about skill trees, is actual tangible things like learning new beta skills or combos or survival upgrades. There's also gear and materials that you'll collect throughout the game that you'll be able to upgrade your gear. And I wasn't able to tinker with this too much, as you really only get to play around with it a little bit during the boss challenge, where I was able to equip a couple of different exo spines with different passives like additional shield protection level, or increasing crit chance and crit damage, or increasing the parry timing windows, right? And then there's gear on top of that for even more passives. Plus then there's the exterior section for the cosmetic look of Eve. I was impressed by the amount of skills here, and especially the tangible ones like I mentioned. Like I prefer these skills that actually do something rather than skills that just give you straight stat bonuses. I would have liked a bit more time with the equipment and gear system though, as it is really hard to gauge its depth from a single boss encounter. I didn't really see any sort of synergies between the different equipment, or like say set bonuses between the different gear that can really benefit from using specific pieces together. I don't know whether that's necessarily missing, or it's just a product of jumping into a demo and not really being able to tinker with it heaps. It's something we'll have to wait for the full product to actually be able to see in more depth. There is also the upgrades that come from Lily that was mentioned in the gameplay overview, like say the ranged weapon and whatever else that she can give you. Assumably there's others there as well, but I'm definitely keen to understand more of how deep the progression system is, as I think it's really important for these sort of action RPGs like this.
It's quiet.
Still, make sure to stay cautious.
Stellar Blade is set in a sci-fi futuristic post-apocalyptic Earth, and it's been ravaged by the Natiba, and Eva's a part of the airborne squads. Joined by Adam, a human born on Earth, and his little robot, you're tasked to saving Earth from the Natiba once and for all. The premise set up here, very akin to Nier Automata in itself, and the voice acting from these initial encounters was very good. I actually enjoyed. Didn't recognize any of the voices, but thought the voice acting here was extremely solid in sort of these tension moments at the very start of the game in its overall setup. Now, the symbolism of Adam and Eve isn't lost on me, right? But I was disappointed that we didn't get to see more of their interactions together, and really interactions with the characters as a whole. Like the demo is very combat heavy, which is totally fine. Like the combat is great. I see why you would lean into that in a demo like this. But what really pulled me into Nier was 2B and 9S's characters and their connection. And I wonder if Eve is going to have that same connection to the world and Adam and the characters that we're going to meet throughout the journey. I walked away from my brief time with Stellar Blade surprised by how much I enjoyed it, and there is a really sleek vibe to the music and the visual flair of combat that I quite enjoyed. You can try the same demo that I played from March 30 Australian time, with the full game launching on April 26th. I would recommend to give the demo a go. I really hope that we see more demos like this from developers in the coming years, because they just really allow you to try things that maybe you wouldn't have tried before, like this for me. Stellar Blade wasn't on my radar until I played it, but it definitely is now. With its stellar combat system, I'm looking forward to playing more. Thank you to PlayStation Australia for access to the demo early. Thank you to you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.